matters. They purchased their own Doppler radar set to be installed high atop this water tower.
Once we have the radar in place in Durant, we should have an 85-mile radius that we can see from 15.
We will now call to order the Durant City Council special meeting of January the 4th. Would everyone stand and let's have a moment of silent prayer, followed by Councilman Scherer with the flag salute. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Brittingham.
Here.
Councilmember Miller.
Here.
Councilmember Morris.
Here.
Vice Mayor Scheer.
Here.
Mayor Groby.
Here. Order of business. Our first order of business is number 1 under administration. Number A, update, discussion, and possible action regarding University Boulevard from West Side Drive to Gates Avenue construction project. Possible actions may include approval of contract terms with Shirley Construction Corporation, proposed amended contract terms of authorization for staff to prepare to rebid project. Who wants to start?
I'll go ahead and start. Thank you, Mayor, Council. You have in front of you a proposed change order number 4, along with an attachment contract conditions for that change order. It's very similar to what you saw at the previous meeting. Since that time, city staff has met with legal counsel for Shirley Construction and Shirley Construction legal counsel is here tonight. I will tell you that based on my discussions with Mr. Bardell, that Mr. Shirley did want to be here tonight. He is not here. He's out of the state on a trip that was previously arranged. But he did want to be here, is available by phone if council has some questions that need to be directed to him. But this is based on some discussions with Shirley and city staff. This is what is proposed at this time. There are a few differences in mainly the timing. Since the last meeting, there's been added, I believe, Brandon may be able to help me, 53 days, I think, just to accommodate the time between the last proposed order and this order. But there would be a mobilization by the end of this month and proceeding from there. The same timeline as far as number of days for the milestone completions have been set forth in this contract condition for change order number 4, and you can see those on page 2 of 2. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Mr. Bardell's here. He's counsel for Shirley Construction. Brandon's here if you've got any questions, and I think between Lisa and the three of us, we can maybe answer those. And I think I'm free to say these are terms to which Shirley has already agreed. And I know Mr. Bardell's got a copy of this, and he may be able to confirm that. But in the previous meeting, the council adopted a proposal to make. And then based on that proposal, there were some negotiations or some discussions. These are terms that that have tentatively been agreed to by Shirley, so that my anticipation would be if the council adopted this or approved this, that it would turn into a contract really quickly without any further adjustment to dates and et cetera.
So if I understand this correctly, based on what the council approved at the last meeting and then what you presented, you guys negotiated, the main difference that is brought back to us is it looks like there's 2 different fees here. One's for materials and such from Shirley, and the other one for mid-state traffic control. The first one's a little over $103,000, and then the traffic control was increased by $45,000. That's one of the main increases or the main differences from what the council originally agreed to, in addition to extension of the deadline by 53 days.
That's my understanding, and those would be cost as actually incurred. So if there weren't that many costs that were incurred, then that fee wouldn't be that high, but it would be a fee that would be limited to that amount as incurred. So to the extent there wasn't actually, those costs were incurred by Shirley then and supported by documentation, that's what that would be.
Okay.
I have a question, Tom. On item J on page 2, for example, Gates to University Place is scheduled for completion on February 25th. At that time, will that be open to traffic, or does it have to wait for the other milestones?
That would be probably a better question for Brandon, but my understanding is that would be a substantial completion of that portion of the project open to traffic to the extent that traffic can get to it. But that would be my understanding, is that would be a substantial completion of that portion of the project. It may not have completed sidewalks or sod on the side of it, but it would be a substantial completion that would allow traffic to flow.
One of these big unknowns to me, Brandon, is the traffic signal construction, which sometimes takes a while. Will the traffic have to wait before those are in place, or can we have a stopgap and let them have a 4-way stop or something?
There'll be a 4-way stop. The construction will be done exterior to the pavement, so there will be a 4-way stop there.
Okay.
And in answer to your first question, that section, that's fully open for traffic, including the sidewalks by those dates. That would be substantial completion. That's what we're defining as substantial completion, is the pavement's completed and open to traffic.
Gotcha.
So on the 23rd of February, if there's been no time extensions and there's not traffic in that section, then they essentially failed to meet the deadline. So
Okay.
it would be open to traffic, or the dates that you're seeing
Okay,
there.
that was my question. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, comments?
I do have another one, Mayor. This council, in the last meeting, we agreed that the penalties would be increased to $2,000 a day should they not meet the milestone, or any milestone, and the forfeiture of the remobilization fees. My next question is, or I guess my question is that, should that happen, hopefully it won't, but if this council approved tonight to move forward and with the majority, and should that happen, not counting rain days and such or weather days, what would be the next step to move forward against this company at that point if they failed to meet the deadlines? I mean, would it just be that we just did a $2,000 penalty a day and they forfeited the mobilization fees and it just kept dragging out as long as possible? Or at what point, if any, would the bonding company get involved and move forward? I guess I need to know what, at this point, what Plan B is for failure to perform.
So the failure to perform doesn't affect any of the subsequent deadlines. It affects the deadline that's there. Once they fail to meet that deadline, if there are no extensions, valid extensions that have been granted to that point, or weather delay extensions, then the $2,000 begins to accrue at that time. And so there would be maybe a number of options, whether it's a deduction for future payments, but they would begin occurring immediately on February 26th if they fail to meet that first deadline.
Okay, so maybe I need to rephrase my question. Once we enter into this contract or change order and they don't meet that deadline and the $2,000 penalty a day starts and the forfeiture of the mobilization or remobilization fees, if we approve this tonight, is the council, are we just stuck with them until whenever again? Or at what point can we say we're done? That makes sense?
Well, conceivably, if they have breached the contract,
Which is on the 26th, with no weather days, is that what?
conceivably, yes. I don't think it would be in the council or the city's best interest to pursue a breach at that point. But if it becomes maybe like the previous contract, where it was clear that there wasn't going to be a completion, there would be a breach of contract action that would be a possibility at that point. If it is a delay that's in, maybe outside of the deadlines, but within a reasonable time and there's progress being made, then they incur the liquidated damages cost. But at some point, if there's not a performance by the contractor, then that's the city's recourse, is a breach of contract claim.
Okay. I guess I say that because I don't want us to be in a situation where we have to wait until this July 17th, 2023 date to move forward with whatever we need to do.
Councilman, that's the very reason for those milestone deadlines, is so we don't get in a situation like we were in last time, where it was at least arguably apparent way in advance of the contract deadline that there wasn't going to be a completion. And so upon the failure to meet one of these deadlines. If the failure is significant enough to warrant a breach of contract claim, then that's what can happen at that point.
It's pretty clear to me that we could not count on the existing bonding company for any relief. Would we pursue legal action at that point? Or what would happen? What would be our path of recouping our investment and our time?
We always have that option, is to pursue legal option. The bonding company is essentially an insurance company. Anyone who's dealt with insurers had varying degrees of success or satisfaction, but that the bonding company is an insurer essentially.
Tom, who will they provide this weekly schedule to? If the city, will it be you, Lisa, or who is it to?
So they, is it on? So they will provide their weekly report to Wall Engineering as far as keeping in contact about, you know, the status of the project and the day-to-day stuff. I have requested, and it's in there, that they will submit a written report to me by the end of each week so that we can keep the public updated. So. And in that report, they're supposed to give us kind of what the accomplishments were for the week and the expectations for the following week. So.
And a copy of this report that you get, we will share it with the citizens.
The report is intended for the citizens and for council. So.
Is no report, is not getting report grounds for failure? Tom?
Should be.
Technically, any violation of any term of this contract is a breach of contract. So the short answer is yes.
Thank you.
I can tell you that based on the communications that staff has had with Shirali Constructions and their counsel, I believe it's been made clear that communication is going to be clear going forward. There just wasn't adequate communication before. My understanding is that the staff that was in place before is no longer there, or at least no longer on this project. And so there seems to have been better communication since then, and hopefully that will continue. And that's been one of the primary things that staff has made clear to Shirali, is that we've got to have better communication going forward. I'm hopeful that that will happen.
Comments? Anybody? Are we ready to call for the vote? Call for a motion? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve contract terms with Shirali Construction Corporation.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Would the clerk record the vote?
Just to clarify, Madam Mayor, I believe that motion would be to approve change order number 4 and the conditions including with that.
Yes.
Councilmember Brittingham,
Aye.
Councilmember Miller,
Aye.
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shear,
Aye.
oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Mayor Groby.
Aye. Motion carries. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Record the vote, please.
Councilmember Brittingham,
Aye.
Councilmember Miller,
Aye.
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shear,
Aye.
Mayor Groby.
Aye. Motion